Where is the moment we need it the most? You kick up the leaves and the magic is lost. They tell me your blue skies faded to gray. They tell me your passion's gone away. And I don't need no carrying on. 'Cause you had a bad day. You take it one down. You sing a sad song just to turn it around. You say you don't know. You tell me don't lie. You work on a smile and you come over right. You had a bad day. You see what you like. And how does it feel more and more time? You had a bad day. Oh, you had a bad day.
Good morning, everybody. I hope that you guys are all doing quite well. I'm just sitting here watching this nice little family.
In my mind, that covers any of the damage that's happened to Barry and the girls.
I know he's innocent.
No, Isis, you're wrong. Sorry, Isis, you are wrong. Okay, so what I was saying, I'm just sitting here watching a very nice little family at the B&B next door, and they're out there feeding the pelicans and the seagulls. And our sun is shining so bright. Our water is crazy blue. And it is a beautiful day on the Texas Gulf Coast. So I thought I'd just give you that little insight. If I wasn't going to do a video about Barry Morphew, I would go outside and show you how pretty it is. Okay, but it's hot as hell. It's hotter than hell here in Texas. So I'm drinking me a glass of water that is filled to the top with ice. It's nice and yummy. So good morning, Amber. How are you? Sketty Nona. I see you, seeing me, watching you. Yeah, I'm doing great. And for all of those of you that are in the bushes, hiding in the bushes, stay there. It's nice and safe and cool, except you're not going to get any breeze if you're in the bushes. So if you want to come out, get a little bit of breeze, then you're welcome. All right. Well, Barry Lee Morphew. Yeah, he is having a bad day, correct? So yeah, we also have video. I've got some video of his arrest, and I put it into a music video that I'm making. So I'm putting it into a music video. I was going to see if I still had the raw data up. I don't think I do. No, I don't. Okay, but it's really not a lot. It is the little arrest video. He's already arrested. They have him at the jail. Someone knew that he was taken into custody or was about to be taken into custody. And so they waited at the jail, and when they unloaded him from the car, and something very interesting here, and I don't think you've heard this anywhere else. So this is the Barry Morphew channel. Okay. I know there's a lot of channels out there that are trying to say, no, we're the Barry Morphew channel. You got a lot of facts wrong last night. A lot. So we are the Barry Morphew channel. Martin Smallwood is our Barry Morphew encyclopedia. AK is the Barry Morphew tracker. Okay. So no, we're the Barry Morphew channel. And if you want the facts, we got them over here. All right. Now then, it was, you know what it was, Kelly O? Was it the walk of shame? He looked furious. His body language, like walking, he was so mad. And the funniest part of it is he knew that there was someone there recording. And so he kind of like hides behind a car. And then when he walks by, he's got his head looking the other way and he walks really fast. and then he gets behind the van and then he bends over. And so you're kind of waiting quite a while for him to come back out. But then when he comes back out, you just get like a little second of him, right? But I think the takeaway for me, I guess I could pull that video up out of my files. The takeaway for me was that he's very strong. Hold on. I don't want to mess up my. How do I do this without messing up my video? I'm making a music video. I wrote a song for Old Barry. Let's see. We go all the way to the end. If y'all just hang out there for 1 second, I'll fix this and I can show you Barry getting arrested. Or he's already arrested, but he's going into the jail. And I need to try also. I haven't cleaned this up yet. Let me see if I can really fast. See if we can get a better picture on it. Here, I can share. I need to unsnap this. Let me detach my canvas. I'm going to let y'all watch me play with it. Hold on. Please stop what you're doing. Okay. So let me share with y'all so that y'all can at least not be bored while I'm messing with this, trying to get the picture better on it. Need my Canva. Okay. Why didn't you see that? Let me see if y'all are looking at that. You cannot yet see it. All right, hold on just a second. I'll fix it, okay? Kelly O, I'm in the UK, so don't get the US information on this case. Is his trial date set? No, I see you. He was literally just arrested like, was it 3 days ago, you guys? Friday. He was arrested Friday morning. He appeared before the judge on Saturday, and he waived his right to kind of ask for an extradition hearing. And that means now that Colorado has 30 days to pick him up. He didn't try to fight it. About the only thing you can do to fight it is to say, I'm not Barry Morphew. That's really the only thing you can do. The whole world knows who he is. He wasn't gonna get away with fighting it, but he waived it. So my guess is that the attorneys, the law enforcement is probably going to get him this week and take old Bear home. That would be my guess. All right, let me try to get this presentable that we can see it. Hold on. It's a big glare on it. That might do the trick. Yep. All right, let's give it a try. That's big. You can't see it. Yes, you can. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I have to apologize. I'm sorry that I laugh. Okay. I'm sorry. People unsubscribe because they think that I'm being disrespectful of the dead. They think I'm being disrespectful of people hurt in crime. You are exactly wrong. Look, I've been look, Barry Morphew knows who I am. And the only reason he knows who I am is because he knows I wanted him arrested. Suzanne stands symbolic to women who are experiencing domestic violence and fighting the system every day because they have rich, fancy husbands. No one wanted this man going down more than I do. And so if I sound celebratory, if I sound excited, I am. I'm excited for we the women. I'm excited that Barry's Good Old Boy Club fell to pieces. I'm excited that Ann Rice is on it. I'm excited that the state of Louisiana stepped up, did the right thing. I'm excited that people like AK and Martin and others petitioned the state and pushed the state and kept this case alive and kept it going. And so if you have, this is a victory for Suzanne. And so you virtue signalers out there that act like everything is supposed to be treated like it's a funeral, stop. This is a good day for women everywhere. It is a day that will make men who are beating up their wives or they're contemplating the murder of their wives, this is a day that will make them stop and think twice about it. That's why I'm not a small-minded, limited person. Okay. So you can unsubscribe, do what you want to do. I wish you wouldn't. I wish that you would try to see like some of the challenges that I make, some of the discussions I have, because I think these are important discussions, like the discussion today. I think it's super important that when there is a person standing trial for crimes against women, I think it's super important for us to be truthful and honest about that person. And here's the reason why. Because if you start turning Barry Morphew into a necrophiliac because it just makes him even scarier, then you are helping no one, no woman, no child, no family, no abusive man gets any help, because necrophilia is something that is so rare, and it comes on, it's a like a stress, it's a reaction formation brought about by early isolation, ostracization, a paucity of the environment is absolutely empty of stimulating activities during those critical developmental years. And so people become unable to connect with others, and therefore their natural sexual expression then gets put onto the least threatening person imaginable, which is a dead person. It's a level of psychosis that is very rare. Okay, so don't turn Barry into a necrophiliac. He is in no way is he a necrophiliac. There's absolutely no way under any circumstances that this man would have had sex with his dead wife. None. There's nothing about him and his history, his personality, the things that we know about him, his day-to-day activities, literally nothing about him that would suggest such aberrant behavior. We are not helping survivors of domestic violence by doing that. We also are not helping the men who are perpetrating this violence. They're not going to be the ones that are going to stand up and say, oh, wow, I can identify with Barry. I need to go get me some help before there's a disaster in my life. So can we just be normal. I don't know any other way to say it. No, I promise you, there's nothing about Barry that would suggest that level of mental illness. Nothing. Now, he does have quite a bit of damage. There is a lot of personality issues that are seen through his actions, his behaviors, the way that others have described some of the things that he's done, some of the things he said. Yeah, there's some problems. Okay, but necrophilia is not going to be it. That is nowhere on the horizon for this particular person. And I can, I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I have my own practice. I also have contracts with hospitals. I work with people. Yes, that is my job. That is my training. And I know that when I'm on YouTube, this is my hobby. This is my social outlet. And so it is very rare for me to go into a level of depth or I don't talk about things like differential diagnosis. I don't really talk too much about like diagnostic criterion. I don't do that because this isn't my job. I'm not doing this for my work. And I work a lot. So when I have time to do YouTube, I don't want to work. I want to have fun and I want to play and I want to have a good time, which is why I write the songs and I make the music videos and things like that. But I promise you, we have this case with Barry and Suzanne. I'm kind of working right now. Okay. I'm going to be Dr. Karen right now. Okay. This is a case that can be used to bring about good. This is a case where a horrific tragedy occurred and there's a lot of people that can identify with Suzanne and Barry and the lifestyle that they had. They can identify and say, wow, these people were just like us, me and my family. My husband sometimes gets angry and pushes me around. Could he be a Barry Morphew? Should we continue to let this go? Maybe we need to try to get into therapy. Maybe I need to go ahead and pull the trigger on a divorce like I said I was going to do. Or if you're already deciding you're going to get a divorce, then maybe you ought to follow the guidelines of those who work in the field of domestic violence and say, leave the house, have all your stuff out of the house, have you a bank account already set up in your name only and an apartment where he is not going to know where you're living before you ever tell him you're getting a divorce. Do not have a grand exit. You are not in Hollywood. You're not living a movie. When you start breaking up the families of these narcissistic men, they get crazy. Don't be there when they find out that you filed for divorce. Take your time. You've been in the marriage how long with the abuse? Take your time, get you a bank account in order, find you a place to live, hopefully in a completely different city, completely different state. And when you leave quietly. When he's gone to work, you say, hey, I'm going to HEB to get a loaf of bread and some milk and keep on driving, right? And that's the other thing too. Dump your car as soon as you can or get it re-registered so that they can't find you. Get a new car. All right. So this case could be very, very important to helping people out of this quagmire that is domestic violence, where people do in fact lose their lives. And in this case, 4 people lost their lives. Suzanne is gone. Barry will never see the light of day at this point. And the 2 girls are I just don't even know how I'm not even going to go into the impact or effect on them, but they will struggle dramatically. And if the two girls stumble upon this, I am asking you, give yourself a gift, go and find you a doctorate level psychologist and start working on getting healthy, because there's happiness again out there after this kind of loss. You can move past this. You are entitled to live your life. Your mom and dad have already lived their lives. Now it's your turn to live your life, and you do not have to be defined by the drama between your mom and dad. Okay. I'm off that. Okay, now then. So please don't subscribe because you think that I'm being lighthearted and having too much fun. This is my personality, okay? I apologize. Okay, now then. So let's look at old Barry. And this is, I'm going to have to make this smaller so you can see him. And like I said, I am making a music video that's going to have this in it. And it'll be a much bigger screen, so it'll be easier to see him, okay? So I apologize about that. There's the boy. Isn't that crazy? Okay, that's when he's bending over. Now you see that dude right there? Apparently that dude was arrested with him at the same time. So the plot thickens. Barry's bending over, like messing with his shoe. There he is. All right, here we go. Okay, we need some brightness here. That's him right there. But he is fit. Okay, now you can see him. He is fit as a fiddle. He is strong and he is very, very lean. And the reason that I bring that out is not because I'm fangirling, but because I think he was getting ready to make a run for it in the desert. I think he's been training out there in the desert. See him looking away? He knows the camera's there. And look how wide his stride is. He's never been able to leave behind that athlete, the personality of, I'm a beast. His athletic image is what I'm talking about. See how, and then there's a little peek of him right there, and then he stops. And he bends over, he plays around a minute. They're all waiting on him. I think he's hoping that whoever's got the camera, I think he's hoping that they'll turn the camera off. Yeah, we see you, Barry. We see you. And you're not so tough anymore, are you? You made your choices. See, he's looking at someone with a camera. I wonder who's got the camera. I wonder who that is. All right. He's looking at him. He knows that he or she is there. So great. He is neutered. Aren't you, Barry? Aren't you, Bear? You have been neutered. You've been clipped, buddy. Your domestic violence, all of your anger, all of your rage, because life didn't turn out the way that you thought it was going to turn out. You take it out on anyone that happens to be around you. Someone has nipped it in the bud. Your bud has been nipped, Barry. Yeah, but he's still, even though he appears smaller, he's still a very powerful guy. He's very fit. I think he's probably been running around out in the desert training. He was going to make a run for it. That is my guess. I'm you know, I don't know that for a fact, but knowing him, it's my guess. Um, I think he was in training to take off. You know what I can't understand though? There's one thing I don't get. If you're going to change your name to Lee Moore, Barry Lee Moore Few, so he just dropped the few. If you're going to change your name to Lee Moore, Barry, why didn't you change your appearance? Well, I suppose he did, right? He's dropped probably 50, 60 pounds maybe. So yeah, I guess he got much thinner, changed his name, but why didn't he shave his head or dye his hair bright red and put fake tanning stuff on? Like there's a lot of ways that he could have obscured his appearance, right? I just think he did have plastic surgery. We know that he had plastic surgery. He was healing from a facelift right before the first arrest. So like I guess he was getting ready to look all fancy so he could date and all that. But this go around, yeah, it didn't hold very well. He looks pretty rough. But he's fit. He's definitely using his droids. See how coordinated he is in movement. You can tell he's an athlete. There he is. That dude was arrested with him. He's back there. He's just bent over looking at his shoe. We see you, Berber. All right, so there he is. All right. And like I said, I'm making a music video. I wrote a song, and now I'm in the process of putting the music video together. And I'll give you a little morsel. Would you like a little morsel? If you want a little morsel, if you'd like to see, whoops. Too big. Okay. If you would like to see a little snippet of the music video, put a 1. If you want to see a snippet of the music video, put a 1. Hey, Celestial, I'm so glad you're here. Yay. Who wants to see just a little snippet of the music video? Anybody? Oh, a few people. Hi, Yvonne. Good to see you. Frenchie, Vicky Carpenter, Sketty Nona, and good to see you. He seems too nonchalant when he said, was it a lion? A lion got her? Do airlines charge him more for the bags? They should, Mark Klein. Sweet Melissa. Sweet Melissa. All right, so we're going to play a little, you guys are going to get a little morsel, a snack of the upcoming music video that I'm working on. I wrote the song, and now I'm doing the music video. All right, so I'll let you get a little bitty, just a little taste. And this is the beginning. Whoops. This is the beginning.
Barry Morphew had it all. A millionaire's golden crown. Big house in the Rockies. King of a small town. The darkness brewed in his heart. A secret cold as stone. Suzanne went missing her fate he would never own. In a shallow grave marked by one lone tree, under Colorado stars, where no one would see. With a shovel and lies, he buried his sin, but the truth has a way of creeping back in. Oh, Barry, you ran to Cave Creek, Arizona, hiding in a biker bar, waiting for your secret bust. From riches to ruin, a trailer parked the road. Now you're locked in a cage, forever alone. He fled to Arizona to outrun the law. Or was it his own guilt, secret wish to be caught?
All right, that's that. You can tell where I finished to and where I'm still working on. So right there. And this actually is the location where they found Suzanne. You see where the tree is on the right? There's a little dirt road right in front of that tree. And so it's a tree, and then there's like this teeny tiny, kind of like a little lean-to shed. It's not a house, or it would be like maybe where you would keep, I don't know, like some tools or something, right? There's the weird tree, the little wooden dilapidated like tool shed or toolbox, and then a dirt road, little dirt path, dirt road, and then right off of that, and then over to the right a little bit was actually where her body was found. So this picture, this is a pretty significant picture. For a lot of reasons. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to take that off of there so you can actually. If you look to the left on this picture, this is just this is the first escarpment that would then lead into the San Juan Mountains. So you're not actually seeing the tall mountains. It's just the little step up. So you have to envision that this entire skyline from the mountains over to the right to where the interstate is wide open sky, just like what you're looking at. It is this flat all the way across the horizon, and it is this like just unobstructed, wide open sky. Your brain just can't. It is so beautiful. I can't even tell you how gorgeous it is. I think it is incredibly fascinating. As you drive down this road, there is one little grove of trees, like when you leave Moffett and you're headed toward this tree, there's another grove of trees right back behind you, like between you and Moffett, but it's pretty far off the road, and it's where there's a house site. So the trees are around the house, right? So it's somebody's property, so it was not anything he could have used. He literally used this tree so that he would know where she was at. Now, I have written a letter to him to like verify that. And I don't believe not for a minute. There's no way in hell he would respond to that, because he's going to launch a defense. I believe this is going to go to trial. There's a possibility that maybe it would not go to trial if David Peller, his new attorney, if he's able to get a plea deal for Barry, that Barry would feel like he would one day have a chance maybe for parole, right? Barry, you ain't never getting out. They may even give you 10 years with the possibility of parole after 5. But you know what that parole board's going to do? They're going to look at this whole entire story. They're going to look at the steps that you took to hide her. They're going to look at the fact that you moved her body. They will deny your parole every single time. So if the attorney is, really honest with Barry, and it's hard to say, the attorney's kind of an interesting guy. He is a Denver criminal defense attorney. He works with a larger group of attorneys. He does look like he might be a little bit younger than Scott Reich, but I can definitely see where they would be friends, like through their professional organization. But the guy just is taking on a case where there is this man who is a truck driver in Colorado. Some man who's a truck driver and like an 18-wheel. And he's, I believe he was leaving Denver, coming down one of the first big inclines. And the truck was too heavy and it just started pushing him. He was going something like 89 miles an hour. I'm telling you, when you are on those like 35, 40 degree inclines and you got a ton behind you pushing you, you don't just put the brakes on those big trucks. So they do have runaway truck lanes that you can kind of guide your truck up into it, and then it goes straight up, so it'll slow down and stop your truck. I would suspect that it would be pretty frightening to use them if you're going that fast in an 18-wheeler. The idea of stopping in about 300 yards has got to be a really intimidating thought. Fear of your own life, getting into a bad wreck, whatever. But what ended up happening is the truck was out of control. It was going very, very fast, and he in fact wrecked the truck. It jackknifed, and ended up hitting a bunch of other cars and killed 4 people. Okay, so that's the background. Now, before this truck wreck, this guy had never had any kind of trouble with the law at all. But the way that the way that the district attorney chose to charge the case, the kid was found guilty, and then he was given like 120 years in prison for basically what amounted to like reckless endangerment or manslaughter, maybe. But the particular way that it was charged, and he wasn't found guilty on all the charges. If he had been found guilty on all the charges, the guy would have gotten 180 years. And he's very young. He never had any trouble with the law, just a normal guy trying to make a living. And so this was devastating, that type of a sentence in what was really just a terrible accident, maybe a little, maybe not a very sophisticated truck driver, maybe not qualified to drive in those mountains, things like that. So this Barry's attorney, the new one, he has volunteered to work with this guy, and they're trying to get him a new trial, or to get the sentence modified. And a lot of what drove that were the people of Denver that spoke up and said, this is crazy. How can you give someone a life sentence for an accident? Yeah, he killed 4 people. It's horrible. He should absolutely have to pay some kind of consequences. But 120 years? I mean, it's kind of crazy, right? So this man, he seems like a good guy. He's volunteering to step up and help this truck driver, has no money, has nothing. And he is being successful. So now the district attorney has said, okay, this was overcharged in a huge way. There's lots of trouble with this. Let's go back to the drawing table and let's try to come up with something new. So that's who Barry's new attorney is. He seems to be a guy who kind of likes to help in impossible situations, right? And so now we know Barry, the guy stepped up. He said, "I'm happy to help you. I know you don't have any money, and I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to do the case." So I don't think, of all that together, I don't think Barry will take a plea deal, because I don't think that they will offer one that he would he could entertain himself accepting. I don't think so. Okay, so I think we're going to trial, basically. And I think that Barry, his personality that he has right now, I think that he is angry and he is motivated and he believes that he's going to win his trial. Everyone deserves an attorney, 100%. Everyone. All right. I think he thinks he'll win because he won the first go around. Linda Stanley really messed it up, dropped the charges, and said, you're done. And I think ISIS, part of the suing the state of Colorado for $15 million, was to put some money in her pocket. I mean, I don't think she had any noble leanings, because as soon as Suzanne was found and they could no longer kind of reach out to grab that 15 million, ISIS said, "You're done." She cut him loose. She disappeared into thin air, and he was left directionless and alone. So it does seem June. Am I wrong about that? No. 2024 October. I think last October 2024, Mallory, the oldest girl, the one who is basically Barry's right-hand man, she gave her inheritance money, like the insurance money, the life insurance from Suzanne. She gave her part to Barry, and he signed over the Noblesville property to Mallory. I don't know anything about Macy, but we're still looking at property records in Arizona and Indiana and trying to get a handle on what all was going on. So it seems like to me that perhaps Barry, maybe he kind of knew after Suzanne was found. I think he knew that this day would come. And that's why you saw him making these big moves where he's giving the house and the property to one daughter, getting their money. I honestly think he was going to make a run for it. I do. I really think he was going to make a run for it. And I think they surprised him. Or maybe that's what was going on. Maybe he was leaving Friday. Maybe his plan was in place and he was making a run for the border, and they were watching him and they said, "Hey, he's running. Let's go." So we'll see. It was showing signs of dying, the tree. Yeah, I heard all that, but yeah, I think I was lost at the whole necrophilia thing. I think at that point I was like, that's so ridiculous. You can't even. And I don't mean there are people that are necrophilic. Okay, I know that. But there's not anything about Barry that would give you that idea. From the time that Barry was very young, he was quite accomplished as an athlete. And you and I both know that athletes, people that are very good at a sport, what do we know about the other kids in those classes or in that age? Are athletic kid, elementary school, junior high school, are those kids ostracized and alone, or are the baseball stars and the football stars, are they in the popular group? Y'all answer, like put an answer in the chat. Which one is it? Are they isolated? Are they ostracized? Or are they embraced? Yes, exactly, Anne. Yeah, no, he was very popular. He was incredibly popular, even though he was a zero charisma dude. He has no personality. He has no personality. He is a machine. And here's something else I heard. Oh, well, he wasn't very good at baseball. I'm sorry. Yes, he was. and you yourself said that when you go into the gym of the high school, everything is Barry Morphew. All the awards, all the pictures, all the pennants, it's all Barry. He was very good. He had scouts that were looking at him from the time that he was in the 9th grade. When he was in the 8th grade, he was playing with the high school, the varsity team. He was very, very good at what he did. Very good. He played second, third base. Second and third base, not so much second, but third base is one other than catcher. Third base is a power position. I'm talking about you need physical power to play third base. You're moving fast, and you've got that straight line throw from third over to first, but you've got a restricted range of area because there's so many players in between you and the first base. And so with third baseman, their arm is powerful. Just same way with the catcher. So the fact that Barry's driving around in his car and he's lifting weights on only one arm, that's his throwing arm. And I'm sure his coach and his dad were telling him to do that. He was molded. He was coached and molded and directed all to one end. You're a baseball player. You are a baseball player. You are a baseball player. And we do know that with athletic performance, those people that achieve the highest levels of athletic performance, that they very often are the children of high level, highly conditioned athletes themselves. Olympic people that competed in the Olympics, very often their children will also compete in Olympics. That is not simply genetic endowment. That comes from, yes, some genetic endowment, but more importantly, in my opinion, as a behaviorist, it comes from the fact that the kids are raised in an environment where becoming a gold medal winner is not only a possibility, but a likelihood. They're trained from the time they're little bitty growing up, they're trained, you are going to win, you are going to compete, you can do it, you're the type of person that does it. And so they don't doubt themselves. If you grow up in a home where everybody's a pharmacist or a kindergarten teacher, and you jump up and you say, I think I want to practice, and I think I want to try to get a place on the gymnastics Olympic team, the pharmacist and the kindergarten teacher, are going to say, that's so unrealistic. You can't be in the Olympics. That doesn't make sense. So even though this person may very well be talented enough to be an Olympian gymnastics or gymnast, because they don't have that behavioral conditioning, it doesn't ever get developed. The physical prowess doesn't get developed, but more importantly, the identity never gets developed. So Barry was being raised with a father who had basically failed in the country music industry, while his best friend, his bandmate, went on to become a award-winning country music artist. And his father was quite bitter and quite disillusioned. And so he looked toward Barry to make good the family name. The dad had a high need for narcissistic supply. He needed to be significant. He needed for people to know who he was and be admired. And Barry became a tool for the dad to get that notoriety. How sad is that? It is terrible. And so Barry was molded into believing that he was destined for greatness. But Barry's personality, he is quite schizoid. He doesn't really want to be with people. He doesn't like people. He doesn't understand people. He is about as conventional of a male as ever there was. I mean, you're basically looking at a Neanderthal. You're looking at a Neanderthal who is smart. Don't get me wrong. He's smart. But people don't matter to him. He's not interested in people. He's very mechanical, right? Even in his own behavior. So he's trained. You're a performer. You've got to have that athletic build, never stop building. There was no emphasis on building his mind. There was no, he is smart, but there was no, they didn't prioritize his intellectual ability. It was, he's obviously smart. You're not going to play baseball if you're not smart. And so the day that Barry blew out his knee, that was a horrible day for Barry Morphew. And it was a horrible day for Suzanne Morphew. She just didn't know it yet. In fact, they were not together at the time. But it was a fateful day in the life of this man. The door slammed. Barry Morphew, the man, the kid, Barry Morphew died on that day. All that had been done to build him up to a state of athletic excellence, that he was the best of the best, and actually got a place on the Toronto Blue Jays farm team. Which, here's another part of little baseball lore. Do you know how many second, third basemen are out there? There's a whole ton of them. There's a lot of people that play second base and third base, and it is pretty rare for you to stand out as a second or third baseman. Pretty rare. So to get you a place on the farm team of a major league baseball team, to get a place with the farm team as a second baseman, third baseman, you got to be really good. And he was. And I think, again, you're doing a terrible misservice to survivors of domestic violence, to men that are abusers and they need to get help. You are really doing a disservice by trying to turn Barry into a monster. He was a normal guy like all of us until his world shattered and there was no more identity. There was no more significance. He had lost his business. He had lost his family, his wife. He had lost his money. He didn't see a way forward. He had to have her inheritance money so he could try and build back. Here's another thing that was incorrect. Barry and Suzanne were not sitting around the house holding hands watching Hunger Games together at night. That ship had sailed. In fact, Suzanne told her best friend Barry would stay gone for days. She would have no idea where he was. He wasn't off hunting all the time. Sometimes he was, but he just wouldn't come home. And he would be gone for days and days and days. And she had grown accustomed to that. She enjoyed it when he was not around. When he would come back home, the house was very, very tense. It was tense for her. It was tense for Barry, and it was tense for Macy. In fact, it had gotten so uncomfortable for Macy that she started living with her boyfriend's family. Macy told her mother, don't tell Dad when you get ready to divorce him, you need to get a restraining order on him. That was a high school girl coaching her mom. You think she knew her dad was violent? Barry was disillusioned. He didn't know who he was. He never recovered from the loss of his baseball career. That his dad and mom and sisters, they filled his head with so much nonsense. He believed it. He thought that was who he was. He thought that was who he was going to be. So when it fell to pieces, he was lost. He had no idea. There was nothing to build upon. Everything about him was Major League Baseball. That's all he was in his head. He didn't fit in anywhere. This is a man who grew up being on a baseball team, everybody wearing the same colors, everybody having the same mascot. And he was a leader of the team because he was good at it, not because he had charisma. His whole friend group, attracting women, everything was baseball. It filled every single need on that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, filled everything for him. So the day that he blew out his knee, Barry Morphew died. In the weeks that followed, in his mind, he was simply just, what now? Like, oh my God, what now? You've got to think about that, because how many people out there right now today are living the same experience that Barry Morphew had, but in an attenuated way, right? I mean, the fall from grace from Major League Baseball player potential, Major League Baseball down to landscaper, that's tough, right? I mean, that's a big one. So, but how many people say, I want to be an engineer? I want to be a mechanical engineer or a civil engineer. And then they go to college and they just can't do the math. And so they have to say, okay, well, I've lived my whole life training, having fun, pretending, telling people I'm going to be an engineer. I want to be an engineer like my dad is an engineer. And then I can't do it. So I'm a failure. You start your life out as 25-year-old failure. And those people generally turn to drinking. They get them a big group of friends. They're partying every night. And as the years go by, more and more and more, they over-identify with, I'm no good, I'm a failure. And they start lashing out at whoever's around them when they're drunk. And usually it's the wife. So we're not giving enough attention and respect to how critically important it is for there to be some level of congruence between your perfect dream identity and the person that you're actually being day to day. And I see Calming the Chaos is in here. And so what I'm talking about, Calming the Chaos, is Alfred Adler. So if you don't know much about him, that would be a book that he wrote that you would enjoy. Adler did a lot of talk about the ideal self, the perfect self, as compared to, the day-to-day self and all of our failings. And that people are healthiest when the ideal self most closely matches the day-to-day self. We get very, very unhealthy when there's a huge gap between who we are and our ideal imagined self. And in Adlerian therapy, that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to either raise expectations of your daily self or lower the image of the ideal self so that it becomes more congruent or similar. So I love Alfred Adler and all of his work. But okay, so back on track. So Barry, he was a very good baseball player, and his injury ended him. He over-identified with the idea of being a baseball player, and it wasn't a pie in the sky dream. It wasn't a little kid on, playing baseball in the dirt going, well, I'm going to be Nolan Ryan one day. I'm going to be Jose Cruz. No, he legitimately was. He was there. He would have been called up. He was incredible baseball player. And so when he hurt himself, and he still limps today. I heard somebody saying, oh, well, we don't even know if Barry really got hurt. We don't really know how bad it was. I think that the Blue Jays just rejected him. No, Barry legitimately had the skill, the physical prowess, the training, the identity. He had the ability. He was in fact going to play Major League Baseball. Like, there's no doubt about that. And he hurt himself because he was being too intense, right, with the big boys. So his identity was obliterated, and he never recovered, in my opinion. He never figured out who he would be. If Barry couldn't be baseball, what was Barry going to be? And I think that's how it fully embraced this whole hunting thing. Look, where they grew up, hunting is what the young people do. The guys, that's what they do. Here's another thing I heard. It's completely inaccurate. Well, Barry just killed him. He didn't eat the meat. He did. Yes, he did. I don't know who you're getting your information from. Yes, he did. And he also, not only did he eat the meat, but there were kills that he did that were 100% trophy kills. And so those really big, muscled up animals that are, the head, the stuffed head and everything is really nice. You cannot really eat their meat. It's not worth eating. It's super hard. It's got a very pungent, strong taste. They're not able to be eaten. And so I think that with those animals, I think Barry was composting. I think that's how he was getting rid of the carcasses. I think he had a composting pile. And there was talk in the days after Suzanne went missing and the cops were there and they were searching and whatnot. They did have a freshly killed elk head. I mean, this is chilling stuff, y'all, but stay with me. There was a freshly killed elk head that was on the front porch, near the front porch, right? Where was the carcass? We know that Suzanne, when she was found in Saguache County, Moffett, just south of Moffett, we know that her remains were interspersed with the remains of an elk. So investigators get back up on that mountain and find Barry's composting pile. I'll tell you where I would start. I would start at the location where Andy Mormon said that Barry laid down on the ground. It was a very, very flat kind of dirt, packed in dirt area, and there were some logs that looked like they had been burned, there's your composting site. So I don't know where that was, but Andy Mormon would know exactly where that was. Barry's got a composting site for the large animals that he's not using their carcass. So you got to find it, because I think that's where Suzanne was. I think that was her original site. And I think the reason that the remains were mixed in with the elk remains is because she was put in the composting site. I know this is really dark and sad, but it makes a lot more sense than some of the other stuff I heard that was just like nutty, crazy. Like he scalped her. Why do you think that Barry Morphew would scalp Suzanne? Like for one thing, wouldn't he be in a hurry? And also, wouldn't that spread evidence everywhere? I think he would be wanting like zero evidence. I think that he would like make her go to sleep with the BAM. Yes, I think the BAM killed her. I know everybody's going, no, it just tranquilized her. I'm sorry. Have you ever seen a moose? You seen the size of a moose or a fully grown black bear? This is they shoot these nuisance animals with BAM, and it is like so fast acting, and they can't move. Like they just, and they're out that fast. You think 100-pound lady compared to like a 700-800-pound moose, you think she's going to still be breathing? Do you know that it's a muscle that causes you to breathe? Your diaphragm is a muscle that runs along the base of your lungs. Your lungs are connected to it. And so when it tightens or relaxes, it's pulling the lungs down or releasing them to let them up. And that's what creates the inhale, exhale. So also the heart is a muscle. If you take so much tranquilizer that you can't walk, but then you get even more tranquilized, then eventually the sympathetic nervous system is also going to falter. So I do think the BAM killed her. But if the dogs look for what? They look for fear, distress, or they look for like blood. Well, if you put someone to sleep, they're not in distress, so you don't have pheromones in the house, and there's no blood anywhere. So I kind of think he went ahead and darted her. That ended any hope of the dogs tracking based on her pheromones. And then all he would have had to do is just walk right out in the woods and put her in the composting pile. And Martin Smallwood, do I remember that Barry took a very strange walk down into the woods by his house? But then when he came back a lot faster. So the answers are out there, but we'll do another video where I'll show like large animal composting. This is something that Barry would have known a lot about. He would have been completely able to create a pit for large animal carcass composting. He ran a deer farm. He supplied hunting camps with basically pet deer that had been fed, so that the rich fat cats could say, I'm going hunting, but then just sit there and drink beer and shoot the deer as they walk past them. But when you work on a large ranch, a commercialized ranch, or something like a hunting camp, if you raise horses, if you raise cows, your animals will get sick and die for whatever reason, and you can't just bury them. Like you can't just dig up your whole farm, all your good pasture land to bury them. That's not what they do with them. You've got a couple of options. One, if you know the science, then you can create your own composting heap, And Colorado is actually very well suited for large carcass composting. The big ranches that are out there that do the bison and the cattle and whatnot, they're all doing their own composting with the dead cows and stuff. So you can do it yourself if you know how to fix it, make it work. Or the state of Colorado and other places that tend to have these large animals, they have licensed large animal disposal groups, and basically it's just a company that does the composting for you. But I do think the reason that Suzanne, some of the bones were bleached and it was interspersed with the carcass of an elk is because she was put in a composting heap. There was no hair. So when there's a dead person and you bury them just like in the ground with the microbes, they leave what is called a halo of hair. So the hair just falls gently off, lays flat, and it just makes a circle around where the skull would be. And there was no hair. They didn't find any evidence of hair. It's not there. Because I think she was put in a large carcass composting heap where he was putting the dead elk. And in fact, there was evidence of a dead elk the day she went missing. The large elk with the rack on it was sitting by the front door. Who remembers that? Yeah, so the chasing around the house. Thank you for bringing that up, Haiku. The chasing around the house, that I don't think that was even a thing. I think that it was, in fact, cellular drift. And the reason that I believe that it was cellular drift is because in this part where they lived, where their house is or was, you just come in and out of signal. Like as you're driving down the road, you can watch your phone and it's like, okay, I've got 1 bar, I have 0 bars. I have 1 bar, I have 0 bars. I have 1 bar, I have 0 bars. They are in the middle of nowhere. They're in, that house is sitting on the side of a large mountain, and right across the street, there's a even larger mountain. And so there's just no signal. The signal that you get kind of comes in and goes out, comes in and goes out. So when people in Colorado live in those areas, what they end up doing is they get internet, and then they're using the voice IP. They're using the telephone communications over the internet. So once you get in your car, you don't get satellite radio very well. It kind of comes in and out. And you certainly don't have much cellular. Now, once you get next to Salida, then it pops on and you're great. You have plenty. But out there where their house is, no. So I don't think that it was, I don't think that they were running around the house. They can't run through walls. They would have had been running something like 250 miles an hour. No, they weren't running. It was the cell signal itself was very light and it was drifting around. And that's what made it look like they were moving around, but they weren't. In fact, there's some very good evidence that Suzanne wasn't even alive at that time. So, yeah, no, I think she was put to sleep, period. All right. Not inside the elk. I'll explain it. Yeah, I'll explain the large carcass composting. I've got like some pictures and stuff that'll explain. It's a little hard to understand. You layer okay, I can't explain it that fast. You take a bulldozer and you prepare your pit by kind of digging down into the ground, and you make like this wide open, like square or rectangle, right? You dig it out. And they're usually around like 6 or 7 feet deep, but they do it on a slope. So you can like back your pickup truck down in it, push the animal off of the pickup truck down into the deepest part of the pit, and then you drive away. Now in the pit, are layers of different organic material. And the way you layer that organic material is vitally important, because what you're wanting it to do, you're wanting it to catch fire underneath the top layer of dirt and snow. Okay? You're creating an oven is basically what you're doing. You're creating an oven, and when the snow comes, the snow is super important to this, okay? When the snow comes, and what did Linda Stanley say? We believe the place that Suzanne is at is under 5 feet of snow. If you remember that from the day they dropped the charges, put a 1 in the chat. We believe that Suzanne is under 5 feet of snow. Who remembers? Am I the only one that remembers that? That's impossible. I can't be the only one that remembers that. Okay. Oh, there they are. Lisa, Tracy, Z. Thank y'all. Yeah. So the snow, when you're doing large carcass composting, the snow is a part of the oven, because the snow is insulating, right? Just like think about like a igloo. Even though an igloo is made of ice, big blocks of ice, once you go into the igloo, it's very warm inside the igloo. People that get lost in the mountains, you know what they do to get warm? They dig down into the snow. They use the snow like a blanket. All right. So, so that you layer different organic material, there will be a chemical reaction that will create intense heat, and that heat then basically bakes the large carcass, bakes it for months. There's a layer of dirt that goes on top, and then the snow comes and seals it all off, and then you've just got a body in there that's just being diminished and depleted. And one winter with these large animals, one winter in Colorado or Wyoming or the Dakotas, one winter is enough to almost completely erase a cow or a bison or a bear. Like, you won't find hardly anything left except bones. And sometimes the bones are even gone. Usually there will be pieces of like the large bones, but the smaller bones, like the phalanges, they're gone. They just disintegrate. And if the body stays there for 2 or 3 winters, then even the bones will be gone. They'll be completely disintegrated. Fascinating, right? So if you're a rancher there and you have a bunch of bison, and one of your older cows or one of your older bulls or cows dies, then they just pick that big giant bison up and they take it out to the composting. They call it a pad or pallet. Put them in there, cover them back up, wait for the snow to come, and it's all done. The other thing is this: if you guys are going to look for his composting pile, the soil, you can test the soil where you think it might be, because the soil, in order for this to work well, it has to have like a high concentration of nitrogen to start the chemical reaction that's going to create the fire, the heat. So Barry's got a composting pile. I feel it. I believe that. I think that's how he's handling all of the carcasses that he's not using to eat. You basically eat the younger animals, or the female deer, the big trophy that you're not fit to eat. They're not good. So he's getting rid of those. I believe that. All right. So I think I did not get into all of Barry's personality factors that I wanted to get into. Excuse me. I'm kind of trying to have I think that one thing is for certain There is absolutely no reason to believe on any level that Barry would have had sex with Suzanne either unconscious or dead. Necrophilia is incredibly rare. It is the most extreme paraphilia that we know of, really. And it is one of the absolute most complex fetishes that there is. I mean, people that engage in necrophilia are really isolated. I mean, ostracized in childhood. They are belittled. They are ignored. Even the parents don't talk to them, and they begin to live in a very rich, imaginative life. They have no friends. There's nothing about Barry that would suggest that any of that process happened to him. From the time that he was a little boy, he was at the top of the athletic activities and endeavor. And that made him popular, even though he is zero charisma. Mark my words. Old Bear is not going to entertain you at a party. You know what I mean? He is a very boring guy. That is one of the reasons why Barry can quote Bible scripture so efficiently. He has all of that memorized, and it makes him sound socially competent, going to church and quoting out scripture, and people think, wow, he's so special, he knows. But listen, if you really talk to people, you really listen to Barry, he doesn't apply it accurately all the time. Sometimes he'll like parrot something that he's memorized, and you're just kind of going, that was weird. Why did he say that? Because it's just his way to cover up that he really doesn't have anything interesting to say. He doesn't know what or how to say it. So here's another thing, low self-esteem, that with necrophilia, not only social isolation, terrible, horrible difficulty forming intimate relationships, but very, very, very low self-esteem. Barry didn't have that problem. The athleticism saved him from the problem of low self-esteem up until he blew his knee out, and he never recovered. And at this point now today, he's got a critical fracture in his personality, in his identity. And so low self-esteem is a defining feature of Barry today, but not from childhood. Childhood, he was very well accepted. He always had a pack of friends around him, but not because he was charismatic and fun, because he was an athletic star. So when people are heavily isolated in childhood, they don't have any friends, this can lead to tragic deficits in social skills and emotional regulation, and all of that will manifest in adulthood as deviant sexual behaviors. So it is true that necrophilia is really linked to control and possession, but you have to remember the basic for how it forms, that social isolation, not knowing how to relate to people. These are people that are expressing what is a biological function, sex, and they have to do it with the least intimidating partner imaginable. And what is less intimidating than a dead person that can't laugh at you or poke fun at you, right? So think Jeffrey Dahmer. He had the same problems, and he did have social isolation and belittlement in childhood. Parents that were kind of unresponsive, other than his father, who introduced him to the creepy, roadkill stuff. So isolation and belittlement are not sufficient predictors in and of themselves. They are risk factors only, and there has to be a lot of behavioral experiences that mix in with those two risk factors that would result in such an extreme personality anomaly. So also maybe there's like some weird porn that gets introduced about the same time as the isolation and belittlement. So it's a very, look, necrophilia that's fringe, man. That is fringe. You'll most psychologists will spend their whole career and never run across one of these people. No, that's very strange. And the point of bringing it up here now is there's just nothing to indicate anything like that with Barry Morphew. Nothing. In fact, it's the exact opposite. He was a part of big groups, at being on the baseball teams. He was well loved because of his athletic prowess. He wasn't in danger of anything like that. And look, he's staying gone from his house for weeks at a time. He goes out in the back country and stays for a month at a time. He has absolutely zero interest in sex with Suzanne because he was getting sex from Shoshona and someone else. Barry said that a woman only has to have sex with her husband to keep him happy. And that is the life that Barry led. Suzanne was there for sex. And then all of his affiliation and identity, all of his socialization was with men. That's why he joined the fire department. It's another team, right? He was always on a team. The fire department gave him a team. Suzanne was for sex. Everything else was his team or out in the backcountry tracking and doing what he enjoyed doing. Because he had met the maid at the trash dumpster and immediately picked up an affair with her, he was getting his sexual needs met by Shoho. He'd had no interest in having sex with Suzanne at that point. And she had no interest in him either. So no, I don't think, not for a minute. This wasn't him freaking out because she had an affair. This wasn't him, oh, I'm going to show her and have sex with her one more time before this is over. It absolutely not. He needed her money so that he could start over a new life. His identity was in shreds. The only thing he had were his business connections, but he had to have money to make that happen. And Suzanne wasn't sharing. She wanted her money and she wanted him to pay back her dad. This was an act of survival by Barry. This was absolutely 100%. I will have nothing. I will not even be able to make a new business. I don't know who I am. I have to have my own business and I don't have any money. What am I going to do? I got to get my hands on that inheritance money. And this is the way he chose to do it. That's my conceptualization of what Barry went through as he was plotting and planning the death of his wife. All right. You guys are awesome. If you have not already subscribed, I am going to do the crass YouTube thing and beg and plead, please subscribe. Please subscribe. If you subscribe, then you will know when I put up a new live or a new video. I don't have a regular schedule that I do my videos because I work a real job. And some days I work 12 hours and some days I work 3 hours. So please subscribe so you'll get notification. I have 2 new songs that I have written, one about Old Barry, and then the other one is actually about Scott Reich. So those are coming. And if you don't subscribe, then how are you going to know when I post them? All right. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you so much. And the next video I do is also going to be this whole personality issue related to Barry Morphew. And, who is he really and what can we learn from what he did? Y'all have a great day.
Yeah. And I burnt that channel. Send it goes.
Sinister grifters with a snake oil grin, voracious virtue signalers cashing in. False PIs, they're fixing the game, pointing fingers but they're all the same. Innocent creators, moms with a cause, digging through the chaos, exposing the flaws. We're hunting for clues, untwisting the lies. Who's driving this shit show straight to demise? Convertibles roaring, cliffs in sight, like Thelma and Louise on a forever ride. They sail into YouTube fame, the crash is in sight. We're all on the ride, no brakes, no trust. Popularity is the spark that'll burn their channels in the dust. Oh, it'll burn their channels in the dust. Dust. Spark that'll burn their channels in the dust. Spark that'll burn their channels in the dust. Dust. It's in the dust. That'll burn their channels. It's in the dust. That'll burn their channels. What's in the dust, the dust, the dust, the dust, the dust, the dust. We're all on the ride, no brakes, no trust. Popularity is the spark that'll burn their channels in the dust. Dust.